YouTube, what is up? We are stuck in traffic, and I thought I'd give a little video while I'm doing nothing. I have absolutely nothing to do, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about capitalism, and not so much capitalism. So the problem isn't the idea of capitalism. So firstly, what is capitalism? And then I'll get into the current problems that we're facing. Capitalism is simply the philosophy of saving and the growth of saving, right? So the entire societies of capitalism are actually set up around the growth of capital. Ultimately, they have far more rights than the individual who is not a capitalist. The individual is actually just a laborer working off of his income. So the capitalist works off of his saved capital or his savings, and the laborer works off of his labor, and he's constantly laboring, right? But the capitalist, the only thing that's really laboring is his savings. It's incredible. So how does this work? Okay, so let's say that you make 100K a year. I'm using 100 not because you're probably making that much. I doubt it if you're watching this video, but you might be. I mean, I don't know. You might be making $1 million. Maybe you're a real G gangster and you're watching this video thinking, man, I'm going to listen to Cheyenne because he's smart. But anyways, you're making 100. Okay, let's just get to it. And you're just a laborer. That's your income. You get taxed on that, right? So you're going to get maybe 30% tax. You're left with 70K. If you have savings, right? So you have, $1 million, whatever, you invest that doesn't get taxed. It doesn't get taxed again and again every single year, right? Until you finally pull it out. So, and even once you do, if your business makes 100K, for example, well, you have write-offs, you have depreciation, you have maybe your own labor costs, everything, right? You have all these different costs. Like you might use your apartment because you had to do some things or whatever. You have quite a few things that you can write off. Restaurants, everything. But the common laborer doesn't have access to any of that. Why? It's because the entire system is set up so these companies, right, and their savings grow. So if you have 100K coming in as a company, and let's say you had some costs, 10K here, 10K there, you went out for a few restaurants that year, your car, you have some stickers on it, whatever, you can write that off. All of a sudden, you're only getting taxed on like 50K, and 30% of 50K, let's say it's the same tax, which probably isn't. It might be 25 or 20. It might be less than the laborer's tax rate. Is on 50K, let's say 20%. Let's keep it the same. 30% that you got on 50K obviously is 15. So you just got taxed 30. The company got taxed 15. And you might say, why is that? Well, because it's capitalism. I mean, they want the savings to grow, right? So if you're only getting taxed 15% or 15K out of the 100, well, that just means that you saved 35. That gets reinvested, right? And that kind of sticks around. Then the idea is that these people are hiring people, they're investing in other areas. And that's why the government goes absolutely bananas with money laundering and capital flight. That means you made all that money at the expense of the government. They gave you all these tax breaks to make sure that you stayed in the country, you developed the country, you invested more. The country's assets go up. They eventually can, tax you on that at some point, right? And the income eventually will get taxed, obviously. You might buy land, you might buy houses, there's property tax, the total value of everything goes up, the country becomes richer, you're hiring people. All these things are great if you stay in the country. So when you take that money out and you dip, like with Bitcoin or some other thing, well, they're pissed, right? Because they literally just gave you all of these tax breaks, and in their mind for nothing. So it's actually kind of right on them to do that. So I think that in that sense, capitalism is good, right? Because you're actually thinking and being more efficient with your resources. And just doing things that nobody even would think of, right? Like you're bringing up new services because you're getting a piece of the pie. Now, the problem with it is essentially the access rights that enable you to actually create these things and be entrepreneurial has diminished greatly, right? Like, just think about it this way. As time has went on, land, or the really important pieces of land, get less and less. There's only so much land, right? And every year, if enough competing eyes are looking over all these parcels of land, eventually there really isn't that much left. So things get more and more difficult, highly competitive, and societies currently aren't really conducive to new startups, right? It's getting harder and harder to be a startup. And why is that? Well, there's more and more regulations every single year, and that becomes difficult. Land access becomes harder. There's more and more competition, right? So it's hard to get a foothold in any single market. And these are difficulties for sure. And I think the government, if they actually want to help individuals, should open that up and should enable people to, be able to invest and do something, right? So their main focus and time is spent so much on these big corporations, and rightly so. They're actually the successful ones. They're the ones that made it, and they're the ones that actually can employ people. The problem, though, is then everybody's just a worker, right? Like you go to Japan and you see all these incredible companies, right, that were started up in the past. So the Mitsubishis, Honda, Suzuki, like it's insane the amount of car companies and technology companies in the past. Well, how many of those are actually able to be started today, right? And you might say, well, there's already enough car companies. Fair enough. But is it as easy as it was back then? Is the access the same? And I mean, it truly is not. Like, as societies carry forward, it's very clear that there's just more and more rules and regulations that make it harder and harder to be a startup and for these individuals to actually succeed, right? And I have another thing called economic space theory. I actually ended up deleting that video because I think it's too good. And it was a very, very holistic, theoretical understanding of how to start a startup. Like, it was insane. Like, it was like bubble theory. Economic space theory, bubble theory. Bubble theory is actually, economic space theory is nicer sounding and it describes it quite well. Bubble theory, or economic bubble theory, is actually better. And I mean, obviously there's even more and more and more better names, but who cares? I'm obviously just obsessed with the name because that's my artistic tendency that I like to do. But like, the perfect name, oh my God. But yeah, the description itself is quite good. I took it down because I'm not rich yet. And till I have like 100 million in the bank, I'm not telling anybody that theory again. So sorry, not sorry. Anyway, so you go to Japan and you see all these incredible companies, right? And you have to ask yourself, well, if today there was no car companies in Japan, could a guy named Toyota just get up and start a company? Hell no. You know the answer to this, right? There are places in the world where you absolutely can. Okay, it's a giant planet, right? So there are places where the entrepreneurial spirit is mixed with the low regulation environment, and the government isn't on you all the time, man. Like, the people think that the West is the most free in the world. In some cases, yes, you have some political freedoms, absolutely. How many of you actually care about your political freedom, though? Like, I know you love discussing it with your friends, like who you should vote for, who you shouldn't vote for, etc. But ask yourself, is that truly what you care about? Like, your day-to-day life. Like, I'm not saying what you watch online, or like the total amount of Charlie Kirk videos you've seen and that either you love or angers you on either side. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what actually matters. Like, really ask yourself that. Is it your political freedom or is it your economic freedom? I'm going to tell you the answer to that if you don't know. It's remarkable that you might not. It is your economic freedom that matters more. 100%. If next month you're able to, I know you have ideas. Let's say you take one of your ideas and maybe you work with me or somebody who's far more successful and intelligent than clearly I am, and you go and you double your income. Or let's say that you go in the middle of the street, same thing, okay? Two different events. So next month you have an idea and you double your income, or you go in the middle of the square and you yell about your politician. Which one do you care more about? Tell me. Now, I understand if your politician is maybe like doing some really crazy stuff and, you know, like took your family hostage, all that stuff, like, you know, in Syria, like Assad, you know, that obviously matters more. But for the majority of you, that is not the case. For the majority of you, what matters more is your economic freedom, 100%. And ask yourself, do you have economic freedom? You say, well, I can get another job. The other job pays the same as you're getting right now. That doesn't change anything. What we're talking about is a low regulation environment that is conducive to you moving up the socioeconomic ladder. It's called socioeconomic because it's not just economic, because the more money you have, there's different circles that you can enter. You're going to meet different types of people. You're going to have different experiences. These are facts of life. Your son and daughter in high school know this clearly. You don't. It's just, I'm sorry, it's just fact. But back to the Western culture. So because these governments have got such a stranglehold on the society, right? You have all these political freedoms, but you don't have economic freedom. You don't have individual freedoms in many ways, right? You can't just go get a car, drive up and down the mountain for funsies. You can't have a fire in many places. You might say, well, all these things are necessary for our safety. I get it. Just saying the results of that, the results of those rules inhibit your individual freedom. And the result of all of these regulations on food safety, yada, 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 inhibit your economic freedom. There are places in this world that you can get up. I'm going to tell you a story. I was in northwestern Iran and I met this guy and he was selling soup out of the back of his truck. And you might say that's disgusting. Well, actually, you don't have to drink it. You don't have to eat it, you know, but you might only eat from the restaurant with a nice roof. And sometimes actually those are more disgusting. But anyways, you have a choice, right? So I went up to that guy and I'm like, listen, the day that you started this restaurant, he started it like 10 years ago. I was like, you started this restaurant 10 years ago and you had an idea. You were sitting in your living room. Now tell me, the time between the moment you had the idea and the desire, the inclination to go and start this, to the moment that you made your first sale, how long was that? So you like opened up your trunk and you started selling. Is it the same day? Like, okay, let's say it took him a week, right? Dude, you could do that same day. You could have that idea that morning, get up, go and sell it by the evening. Can you do that in Canada? No. No, you can't. I am driving and making this video, so I'm looking around for cops. I definitely do live a far freer life than most, I would argue. But that's just because I'm I don't know. I just don't care. But we're talking in the general sense. So I actually did have an idea the other day. I was on the beach walking barefoot. This was like 3 months ago. And I remember I had it in the morning. So it was like 8, 9 a.m. And I literally just go to a coffee shop, pull up some code that I had written a few years ago. I spun up a machine. In 6 hours flat, I had a brand new website, a payment system hooked up, and I had a brand new business idea. The problem was obviously the marketing took a long time. I had to build the marketing documents, etc. I actually have some in the back of the car I can show you. It's pretty dope. One sec. I'm driving, so this makes it very difficult. 1 second. It's okay. There's no cops around. Boom, that's what it looks like. Okay, sweet, we saw it. Anyways, that took a while. And then the QRFY people, man, those guys are, they're brutal. Yeah, it was like free QR code maker, and I used it, and then I started scanning it, and it's like, oh, deactivated. You have to pay to make sure the QR code still works, because they had like a redirect. Genius. Honestly, I would do that business if I could, but I'm not going to, because I simply just don't care. And honestly, I want to start doing things that actually make me happy and are honest and provide value for the world, rather than just making money. Like, you can make money. Like, money will come and go. But yeah, I think doing high integrity tasks is better. But anyways, look, I was interviewed the other day by Radio Canada, okay? I was hanging out with my model friend, and I'm just walking with her down the street. And obviously, you know, we're quite striking. I'm beautiful, she's beautiful. We're walking down the street laughing. So obviously the Radio Canada people saw us. They're like, oh, do you speak French? Can we interview? And I'm like, my friend speaks French. So she did a French interview, and then they interviewed me, and they're like, what do you think about affordable housing in Canada? Do you like affordable housing? What a dumb question. What a stupid question. Do I like affordable housing? Yeah. It's like, do you like affordable steaks? Yes. Who doesn't like cheap steaks? That's not even the problem. What does it even mean for something to be affordable? What is the definition of affordable? What does it mean? It means compared to your income, compared to the money you have in your pocket, this is nothing. It's all relative. Like, what's the number 15, right? If everybody's only making $1 an hour and then you have to spend $15 on some food, that's a lot, right? That's 2 days of work for one meal, and you need at least 2 meals a day. You need 4 meals over those 2 days, and you just made $15 over 2 days. That doesn't add up, right? That's all it is. It's just in relation to yourself. Yeah, and obviously there's some historical precedent. Okay, it used to be 10, now it's 15. Oh my God, things are going up. And it does bother everybody, obviously, even if you're rich. But in general, it is in relation to the average income, right? And also historical, because that's just how people are. So when she's asking me, what do you think about affordable housing? Obviously, I like affordable housing. Who doesn't? What do you think about the Canadian government making new affordable housing? Good. It's a good thing, sure, but they have terrible policies in other areas, right? And I said, listen, the main issue here is that a lot of people don't have good jobs, good paying jobs, and they're not able to actually afford this housing. So if you're only focused on affordable housing, but not actually giving income to people who want to work hard and who we have jobs, you know, like you look up LinkedIn search of the Greater Toronto Area. You know, for every job you find, you will find 100. I just did a test. I just typed in a job type. There was 100 times the jobs in New York City for, I think, roughly the same population. It might be like twice the population, but 100 times the jobs. It was something ridiculous. Is that conducive to people living a good, happy life? No. Has there ever been like a Canadian car brand actually start up here that's currently being created? No. We just take the designs from Ford and GM, you know? How many software companies do we have? We have like Shopify, we have like 2. You know, we just import everything. Investor networks, we import them. We have Antler, they're crap. We hire people based on their diversity and the color of their skin, not the value that they can actually bring. Literally, I was there. I got invited. And I asked the lady, I was like, after she was like, sorry, we're not going to invest in you. And I'm like, genuine question, like how many, she was like, we don't think this is going to be $1 billion company. And I'm like, great, I love that. But have you ever started a $1 billion company? She's like, no. I'm like, have you started any company? No. Have you ever invested in a $1 billion company? No. She's like, what does that have to do with anything? Qualifications? Do you know anything? Like, it's insane. The current culture is madness in this country. I'm telling you, it is madness. They're going to make, you know, currently they just earmarked $10 billion in Canada for housing. So he's going to make $10 billion in housing. Is that even enough? Like, it's just, it gets the news, right? But then it's like, there isn't enough jobs. More people are losing jobs. You know, I could go on. The point of the matter is instead of focusing on, you know, building up these industries, which is hard, you know, the brain drain, everybody going to the US to work, the best thing that Canada can do is remove that TN visa. I am telling you right now, the best thing that Canada can do for this country is remove that TN visa. It's going to force, I know, you're probably, I thought that was a cop. It's going to force all these people to come back, okay, in Silicon Valley. I was working there on the TN. The H-1B just went up to 100K. You know what, you want to know how to fix this country tomorrow? Cancel that TN visa. All these people from Silicon Valley, the brain drain, are now going to have to come back. What are they going to do? There's not enough jobs. There's not enough tech jobs. These people will have to start building companies here. The moment that happens, you're going to have higher paying jobs. These people are going to have money again, right? We're going to have a technology industry here that we can ship abroad. And we are already ahead in AI, right? We have all this intelligence. They just go down there, cancel the TN tomorrow, and it will fix everything. I swear to God. There's downstream effects of this, right? All of a sudden, these people have money. They can go to the coffee shops. They can spend more money. They can have nicer apartments. And it's homegrown. Like all this intelligence, you know, the universities will have people coming back. There will be jobs for these people. It's better than just handouts and giving all this free money and making 10 houses. There's 30 million people in this country, and the immigrants that have currently come in, a lot of them are having 4 or 5 kids. They are fertile people. There is not enough houses. You need a better way to think about this than just, oh, we're going to make 10 houses. That doesn't solve the problem. You need income. We're broke. Anyways, so that's my long spiel, but you have to focus on deregulating, and obviously to an extent, like for safety's sake, but allowing these entrepreneurs to do their thing, having companies, having jobs built here. And I think it's going to make things a lot better. And the only way you can really do that is opening up access rights, having public open bid processes for apartment buildings, for land blocks, for everything. So we can all see who's able to bid. Everybody should be able to bid. You should have the regulations be easier to understand. There should be processes in every industry for new people to come in, get a foothold, and actually start to work. And make things a little harder make it easier to start and a little bit harder to stay. And I'm telling you, what that means is there are going to be new companies and all these big behemoth ones that are just staying through monopolistic behavior aren't going to be able to do that anymore. And you're just going to have a whole abundance of new jobs. And startups are way more likely to hire new grads, right? Because we just need laborers, right? So we don't really care. We just need somebody to come and help. And these are just facts, man. These are facts. Cancel the TN tomorrow. Bye.